Hey everybody, this video is going to talk about determining end behavior and intercepts to graph a polynomial function. So we're going to take all the things we've learned so far in this section and kind of put them together. So we're given the polynomial function f of x equals x plus 1 times x minus 1 squared times x minus 2. Answer the questions regarding the graph of f. Then use this information to graph the function. Well, we need to choose the end behavior of the graph of f. So we need to know what the highest degree is going to be of this function. So what I can do is I can kind of look at the highest degree of each of my pieces, and I can kind of multiply them together. So I have x is the highest degree of x plus 1, x minus 1, but then that term's going to be squared, so I'm going to end up getting x squared as my highest degree for that little portion, and then I have an x. So this is going to end up being x to the 4th, and they're all positive, so it's even and positive, so it's going to end up looking something like this. So it's going to rise to the left and rise to the right. Now list each real zero of f according to the behavior of the graph at the x-axis near that zero. So 0 is where the graph crosses the x-axis, or 0 is where the graph touches the x-axis. So our zeros happen by setting each of our factors equal to 0. So we end up getting x equals -1, x equals +1, and x equals 2. But this one has a multiplicity of 2. So that means it has an even multiplicity, and that means it touches but does not cross. So the zeros where the graph touches but does not cross, that's at a +1. And then the zeros where the graph crosses the x-axis is at -1 and 2. Find the y-intercept of the graph. Well, how do we find the y-intercept? We plug in 0 for x. So we're going to get 0 plus 1 times 0 minus 1 squared times 0 minus 2. That ends up being 1 times -1 squared times -2, which is a -2. So the y-intercept is 0 for x, -2 for y. Sometimes all it wants is just -2 for the y-intercept. Sometimes it wants the point, so make sure you know which. Now it says to graph. So we're going to do that on another page so we have some room. So let's go ahead and graph. We want to plot all points where the graph of f intersects the x-axis or the y-axis first. So what was my y-intercept? That happened at -2 or 0, -2. My x-intercepts were at -1 and +1 and a +2. Plot each point on the x-axis and select the correct behavior. So remember, it was even and positive, so it opens up this way. So it's going to rise to the right, and it's going to rise to the left. And then at the 0 with the multiplicity 2, it's going to bounce off that 0. But at all the other ones, it's going to, because they are odd, a multiplicity of 1 is odd. So at those two zeros, it's going to pass through. So that this 0 that's -1 is going to pass through, and then it's going to hit that y-intercept. At the 0 of 1, it's going to bounce, and then it has to go back up into that 0. So it's going to look kind of like this, and this is going to be a smooth, continuous curve. Okay. And we could check points in between our values if we wanted to be more accurate with our graph.